Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Syntegrator. So the next step in the procedure is to recondition all of these sliders that have been in for a little bit of a soak. So I've got my tabletop vise here, and I've got some latex gloves on because dealing with a lot of isopropyl alcohol over a long period of time, not good for your skin. So basically, let me just zoom in here on the clamp. And I've done this in other videos, so other videos in this on the channel you can certainly check out to see the exact same procedure. If you take a look here, we have the fader, and we're going to actually open it up. And I have basically a rule of thumb I always use when I take these guys apart, and that is I make sure that the lower left-hand side legs are the ones right down by the bottom. Now you see right here, these two legs are right by the bottom on the lower left hand side. If I rotate this around, then there's a gap there. See, so that you can actually do it exact same way every time, and that's a good way of getting into the habit. So what I do is I clamp it just like so, and then just using nothing more than a micro screwdriver, I go in and push open the top, push open the sides. This micro screwdriver is a little bit big actually for the task at hand. It's a little bit large. I'm going to go looking for a smaller one. And what you want to do is you want to get it in there and keep your hands clear so they don't get hurt. And try and create a new bend right in the back here. Do not try and undo the bend that's already there. And when you get down to the bottom, you're going to want to reposition it a little bit, like that. Move this guy like this so that you can see it better. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, keeping my hands clear so that in the event that the screwdriver does slide, I don't actually hurt my hand. It's going to just jut out into empty space. Okay, so that's got that, and now with those guys, I want to leave the bottom one alone. Don't undo the bottom one. That's your keying point. So we just lift this up a little bit, and you might have to take it out of the clamp in order to be able to do this. You see, right now it's coming loose, and out this comes like that. And you'll see there's basically two tracks inside. Sometimes some of these older Juno-106s only have one track in them. Some of them have two tracks. I think the older ones have one track, the newer ones have two. It makes no difference. It's only actually using one track, not both. And okay, so that's clear. And then I just take this out. I'm going to put this back over like so. Bear with me. Normally I just do this work without consulting the camera. And as you can see, the inside is actually remarkably clean. However, it does have some yucky accumulated stuff on it. And this is, of course, one of the reasons why it's fairly clean is because it's been soaking for a little bit. Whenever I'm dealing with the inside element, if you take a look, you will see it's essentially composed of little teeny tiny metal fingers, skinny ones that are sort of parallel to each other. And if you use a regular Q-tip, then you're going to get fluff in them. So this here is a foam Q-tip, and it's a much used foam Q-tip. I can't seem to find my clean ones, my little baggie of clean ones. So I'm just dunking this in IPA to make sure it's crap free. And let's give this a little bit of a clean like this. And at this point, I'm going to put this down. I take a look inside. Now I've seen some pretty bad cases where the inside of the case of the fader was filled with crap. And now this is just a standard Q-tip, and what I'm doing is take my pump bottle over here and open it, get myself a little bit of Q-tip action going on with some IPA, and just give this a swabbing out. And just be on the lookout that the Q-tip isn't leaving lint behind. You don't want to do that. Okay. Right. Now, I've noticed, when I was taking this apart, I was noticing quite a few what looked like cat hairs coming out of the sliders. And I don't know if Dave has cats or dogs at his place, but the evidence would seem to indicate that there was an animal living in the place where Dave hung out. Now, what do we got to do here? So you see, basically I've got this metal tab down at the bottom, keying it again, and I know that I want the brushes to point down according to the system that I use. And over here is the bottom track, so I'm going to give that a wiping as well. And this is where you're going to find the majority of the crap coming out. Okay, nothing too outrageous there. So at this point what I do is I'm using Keg deoxit. I put a little bit on the bottom track, like so. Alright, and then I got this white lithium grease here, and I have a little art paintbrush that I use for this very purpose. And I get a little bit of this going on the tip, and then I just paint this into the slider. Just the idea here is we're going to put the grease in between the plastic part of the head of the moving knob, but we're not going to put it in contact with the the actual brushes. Now some of it's going to dissolve and contaminate, but that's actually not a problem. This grease doesn't interfere. But what I'm saying here is I'm actually going out of my way to make sure that there is grease in the parts that are going to have friction, which is namely over here. And this is, like I said, this is a very clean, it's a clean brush, so I'm sorry, a clean fader, so really I'm not knocking myself out to put a lot of cleaning on this or a lot of grease either. But just by doing this, okay, as you can see, it's kind of painstaking work. Now I'm going to pop this back in like so, taking great care not to harm or deform the legs. And then I'm going to take this guy here and flip him back over, and again I can use the legs on the bottom to indicate that I absolutely know what I'm doing about reassembling it, and put that back together like that inside what I was referring to as my keying part, and get the legs all together like so. Okay, so now these are back together. We need to let's follow that camera down, please. Okay, and I'll use a screwdriver. This is the part where you could hurt your fingers if you're not careful, but I'm a bit of an old hand at it now. Actually, this is kind of dangerous, so why don't we just put this down, and I'll use the butt end of this X-Acto again. Yeah, not the action end, obviously. Alright, so that's flattened that in. And because we didn't actually, let me put this down like so. Okay, you following? Alright. Okay, this one here I can use the screwdriver on because there's no danger of it hurting my finger. Okay, like that. And then over on this side, same deal. Flip it around. That's the part you don't want to catch your finger with. And over here. And then once that's in place, you can put it like this, and that, my friends, is how I do it. not really rocket science. And then, of course, once I've got this over like this, it's been in the IPA, I'll scrape this residual guck off from before. And if you thought, gee, that took a long time just for one fader, and there sure are a lot of them in that Juno-106, you're absolutely right. This is really time consuming. And I mean, I'll make it look fast with a time lapse, but it's actually really tedious work. So we quite literally we don't do this lightly. But look at that. Isn't that nice? Beautiful, smooth fader action. Okay, and that guy is reconditioned and ready to go. Now, some people would say, well, why don't you just buy new ones if it takes a lot of time? And while I agree that that's very appealing, and in fact that's what I tried originally when I first started, it didn't work out so well because the replacement faders were actually quite stiff, and I didn't like them compared to the originals, which is one of the reasons why, even though I'd installed all these new ones in this one synth, I had the original faders left over, and those guys ended up becoming essentially you know, my backup supply of faders. Sorry if my brain's operating slow today. I guess it's just that kind of a day. So yeah, in fact, over here on the table I've got a backup supply, and I'm going to be bringing in 4 from that backup supply in order to be able to bring Dave's complement of faders back up to what he needs. So here we go. I'm going to just basically I'm going to zoom out, and it's going to be time-lapse time. Oh boy, got lots of work to do. So, ready? Here we go. Okay, that's the last of the normal sliders now. And remember, there were 4 of them that we actually didn't bother refinishing because I took them out of the equation because they were crazy during the original testing. There's 1 slider left. Not just any slider. This is the pure unobtainium 4-position HPF slider switch. And I'm not going to do that as part of the time lapse. I'm going to do that specifically at regular speed for you because I definitely want you to have a look at what we do. So just the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just removing the extra neoprene guck. And if you saw that in the time lapse or not, but that's what I had to do for every single one of the sliders. And that's where soaking in the IPA was helpful because, oh, and if you haven't noticed already, I lost a glove halfway through. That feels better. Always helps to have a box of disposable gloves. Okay, so basically this guy is a little bit different. A lot different, actually. Let me get in closer. Lift this up here so that we can show it. All right, so the thing about the 4-position slider switch is, in fact, it looks symmetrical, but in fact it isn't. There's actually a detented ball bearing inside on this side here. You see these little slots? See these little slots here? That's a ball bearing that goes in there and bounces into those slots to give it that stop. It's pretty cute, isn't it? And so that's one way we're going to be able to tell the sides apart. And anyway, everything is kind of keyed inside. It looks symmetrical, which means we want to actually try and keep track of which side is which. But if you do get confused, it actually has your back. You just have to be smart about it. So there are 4 tabs in this one. I'm sorry, there are 6 tabs in this one to undo. All right, what just happened, you may ask? Well, the battery ran out in the camera. I went home. I slept. I lived my life. I came back. Here I am wearing a different jacket. That's all you ever get to see of me usually. And looky here. I'm back at it, and it's the exact same process. So I've pushed these 3 pins over to the side, and then I have also pushed these 3 over to this side, so that liberates everything. So now the back of the 4-position switch will come out very nicely. Now this piece here will actually drop out if you're not careful, so be careful. And then I'll flip this guy over, and as you can see, I've actually, I'm kidding you here, I actually opened it up and already cleaned it before I started the video camera today. And as you can tell, it's basically got the 4 stops in there, and it's all clean and ready to go. So I'm just going to apply some of this deoxit to it like I did the others. The trick is not to pour an ocean of the stuff in there. I'll put that down over here. And now we're going to pull out the slider and just put things in perspective. Depending on which orientation you use, because this thing is symmetrical outside, depending on which orientation you use, I've got the ball bearing slots on this side, the right hand side, and taking a look in here, we have essentially the same apparatus as before, where we are dealing with little metal fingers, and there are 2 little metal fingers pointing down, and then 3 or 4 metal fingers pointing up. It's a complicated little mechanism in there, and obviously you do not want to mess it up, so be very careful when dealing with it. And I'm just having a look here. This guy looks about as clean as I've ever seen one of these, so I want to be very careful not to actually add any junk to it. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's good. And so really the only advantage to opening this guy up was to deoxidate it, and we're going to apply a little bit of that white lithium grease to the inside of the can to provide a little bit more lubrication. Alright. Incidentally, it took over an hour and a half to do that last time lapse. And even that wasn't all of the sliders. So just so you know, it is a very, very time consuming process. That's the reason why the battery ran out on the camera, is it quite literally was a very, very long time to be videoing, even though I reduced it down to, I think, 2.5 minutes of actual time lapse. Okay, so there's that back in there, and I'm flipping this back over like so, ensuring that my orientation is correct. And this guy goes like so. Looks good. Okay, great. Hey, look, it says Alps on it. So that's an Alps switch, but of course I really doubt they make them anymore. It was a long time ago, my friends. So you can't see this, but I'm just using the screwdriver to push the... Oh, come on. Why don't I show you? Here it is. Okay. Sometimes laziness has to be fought. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Now, if you have one of these and the shaft is broken off, I'm sorry, but it's very difficult to repair. I actually did pull it off once. I used a shaft from one of the other guys and a bit of glue, and it was a bit of a jerry-rig job, but it actually did work in the long run to restore it. But anyway, if you have one of these and it's broken, look into trying to bring it back to life, but I think you may find that you have to just simply go and find one from another wrecked Juno-106. As we say, it's unobtainium. That's the material it's made of. You just can't find it anywhere. Okay, my friends, there we are. 4 position. Restored. Restored to nice operation. So what do we got here? I'll put that over here in a big pile. These are all of the faders, except for the 4 that I pulled out because I thought that they were no good. So while I'm sitting here and everything like that, I have some spares that I've actually put in the jar for a soak. And I'm actually going to take the time and do 4 of them right now so that I have them all ready to go. And then, don't worry, you don't have to watch that part of the video. I don't think that it's necessary for us to go through this any more than we already have. It's bad enough I've got to go through it. So I'm just going to sort those out, and when we return, it's time to put these sliders back in Dave's panel board.